Hello, and welcome back to the Wildly Wealthy Woman podcast and our affirmation of the week. This affirmation comes with a really fun story. But before I dive into that story, let's cover what the affirmation is. So, I am one person away from completely up-leveling my life, and I am one inspired action away from completely skyrocketing my business. Those are the affirmations I invite you to adopt in. You are literally one person away from the strategy, from the connection, from the network that could blow up your business in such a good way. And these relationships come to us in wild and wondrous ways. For me, this came through an inspired idea to reach out to some of my favorite podcasters, influencers on Instagram and invite them to be on the show. And I was walking out for a walk one day and I thought, what the heck? Why not just send them an Instagram message telling them how much I love their work and how can I help them get more eyes on their work? And so I sent out a few messages and some of my favorites responded with yes. Had them last week, interviewed them on the podcast. The episodes aren't out yet, but they are coming. And opened myself up to a world of new opportunities, new networks, and abundance. And I've always believed this, that business is built through relationships. And in order to build relationships, people need to know your name. They need to know that you exist. And there's different ways of doing this. We're going to cover that in today's episode, but write this affirmation down for yourself today. I am one person away from completely up-leveling my life, and I am one inspired action away from skyrocketing my business. Plant these affirmations in your mind, in your life today. We're going to tap on them together and let's dive in. So, where this came from. I went out for a walk about 2 weeks ago, and some of my best ideas come on my walks. Maybe you're out for a walk right now and you're with me. Like walking, showers, those are the places that all the magical ideas come. And the podcast is still in its baby stages, but I started to think about the podcasts I love to listen to and who I would love to interview and the questions I would ask. And when I got back from my walk, something told me just send them a message on Instagram. Like, what's the worst thing that can happen? They're not going to answer, or they're going to say no, like whatever. So I went ahead, did it, and lo and behold, people started responding, saying, yes, let's do it. So I had them on the podcast. And in particular, last week I interviewed Kayla Craft, who has an amazing podcast called The Crafted Entrepreneur, who I've been listening to a lot over the past year, especially as I navigated some health issues. She really helped me reconnect to the power of my faith and my relationship with God. And I know that that is a topic that is going to be brought up on this podcast a lot. Faith, God, your belief, and that everyone has their own idea of what that is. So I just want you to know that this podcast is a neutral space. Like, you are welcome to believe whatever you want to believe. But my personal journey has really been reconnecting with that relationship because I was raised with God and, went through things in life that altered my beliefs and changed me. And going through a health crisis really brought me back to, like, who and what do I lean on when I am weak, when I am vulnerable? So her podcast really supported me on that journey. And I just reached out to her and said to her, I love your podcast. I love your book. I think my audience would love you. And she said, yes. And when she came on the podcast, she said, when I saw the name, The Wildly Wealthy Woman, she's like, why did I think of that? These are my people. This is who I want to be a part of. So knowing that when you're on your journey to creating greatness or to creating a community or building a brand, your name has a lot to do with the type of people you attract. And you don't have to be masterful or perfect at that. Like the Wildly Wealthy Woman, there are plenty of women that are more wealthy than me, but this is a topic that fascinates me. And this is an identity that I identify with. This is an actual persona that I tap into in EFT. And I knew that by calling the podcast this was going to call in a certain audience. And so Kayla came on and she completely expanded my world we were only on the phone, or we were only on the Zoom together for an hour. And she invited me to really expand my business in what I call wild and wondrous ways. And it reminded me of this affirmation, you are one person away from a totally different opportunity, a totally different life, a totally different level of abundance. And so I took her invitation, and as of Monday, so this was on Friday, this was on Thursday. As of Monday, my business and life has changed in ways that I thought were going to take me years to do. And I'm going to share, that's all I'm going to share for now. There's a lot more to it, but let's just say that things are about to get wild. And this is all because I listened to that inspired action, that random idea I had on a walk to reach out, to give it a try. And wow, did doors ever open for me, and they can open for you too. So let's talk a little bit about different ways to find those relationships, to build relationships with people. And obviously the most common one is to get yourself in rooms with them. So go to networking events, join online communities, and give more than you can take. So when I started my business, I was from a small little town of 8,000 people. Beautiful town, beautiful people, but not necessarily surrounded by the big thinkers, movers and shakers, entrepreneurs that I wanted to be. And so I searched, I actually wrote down in my journal on a lunch break. I was working in an accounting office at the time. I went home, wrote down in my journal, and I wrote, I want to be surrounded by other women who are like me, who are doing big things in the world, who want to make a difference, and who are entrepreneurs. And set that intention, went back to work. Later that day, came home, had dinner, was scrolling on my phone, and I came across a post that was in a Facebook group from England. And it was a post from a woman who was hosting an event, and she was talking about, getting women in a room together to help them shine. And lo and behold, that event was 2 hours away from where I lived. And I got myself in that room and continued to do that time and time again in my business. And relationships are the thing to growing businesses. Let me tell you, like, if people get an experience with you, if you show up in that room and you give more than you take, if you show up in that room and you ask questions about people, you're curious about them, people are going to want to be around you. So that's my first tip. Get in the rooms with the people that are doing what you want to do, and use tapping once you get a yes. So once I got a yes, I'm going to that event, or yes, you're invited to come to this thing, I had to do a ton of tapping around my worthiness that I deserved to be in the room, around my anxiety, because what happened is I went in those rooms, then I immediately felt like, what the heck am I doing here? Like, I do not belong in these rooms. These women are way more successful than me. I feel so intimidated. I was also significantly younger at the time. I was 21, 20 years old, and these women were much older. So use tapping around your social anxiety, around your worthiness, and get yourself in those rooms. The second tip I have for building meaningful relationships is to make sure that you're following up and nurturing them over time. I did this specifically with Lewis Howes. I listened to his podcast for years. I would share his podcast on my stories. It's not like I was a big influencer. I just showed up consistently, and he paid attention to that. And over time, he knew that I was contributing. I'd buy his books, I'd share him with my audience, I'd tag him in things. And one day I was attending an event in Toronto. It was called the Archangel Summit, and he was speaking at it. And I bought a ticket for one of my clients to come with me. She was a client at the time. Now she's a dear friend. And the ticket that I bought for her won a meet and greet with Lewis. And I messaged him. I was like, Lewis, I really want to meet you. I bought this ticket for my friend. Can I meet you at the event? And he said, sure, absolutely. He's like, Jackie, I know who you are. You've commented for years. Absolutely. And so we got this behind the scenes meet and greet with Lewis at this big event. And we got to meet all these other influencers, Jim Quick, Simon Sinek was there. There was all sorts of different people. And that was because I nurtured that relationship. So long story short, I ended up being a part of one of Lewis's programs. He introduced me to, well, he shared me, and then people like Jay Shetty started following me because of that. Like a simple share, a simple tag, a simple adding value to people can make you stand out, and people don't forget that. They know when you're showing up for them, even if you don't have a big following, people pay attention and they remember those things. All right. Now we're going to talk about tips for inspired action. Listen to your inner guidance and move on your ideas in the moment. So those of you that are a part of the 21 Days of Tapping for January 2024, this was one of our affirmations that I move on my ideas in the moment. I had that idea to reach out to Kayla and a few others on the walk, came home and I got busy and I was like, oh, I think I was like, I'm gonna have a shower and do all this stuff. And then it nudged me again, like, Jackie, reach out. And I was on the way out the door to go somewhere. And I just picked up my phone and sent a quick message. So listen to your inner guidance and move on your ideas in the moment. Another tip for taking inspired action is to set time aside for creative thinking and brainstorming. So our inspired action often comes in those moments when we're detached, right? We're detached from the outcome. But being creative and looking at, what's my wish list? Who would I love to be connected to? What podcasts would I love to be on? What people would I love to be connected to? What's working for me and what's not right now? Those things can help nurture that inspired action when it comes, can help nurture that part of your brain that creates ideas and shows you, oh, this is your next step. If you do have a big inspired action, like I'm going to start a business, the third tip is to break down your inspired action into manageable steps and just start small. Just take one little action at a time. Let it be simple. Let it be easy. Let it be fun. If you are in my Wildly Wealthy Woman Mastermind, this is one of our core values. How can I take this big idea and this big dream and just make it a simple next move for me today? All right, so those are my tips. Let's dive into some tapping, the Wildly Wealthy Woman affirmation of the week. It's really about power moves. What power move could you make today that could put you in a room, that could lead you to a relationship, that could lead you to a sale, that could skyrocket your business? So if you're not driving, I invite you to tap along with me. If you are driving, you can just listen along. You're still going to receive some benefits from hearing these affirmations. And let's dive in. So go ahead, if you're in a safe place to do so, you can close your eyes. Take a nice deep breath, breathing in through the nose and out through the mouth at your own pace. Good job setting aside anything you were doing before this and anything you'll go to after this. Creating space just for you to set the intention that you're going to take a bold step this week. You're going to make a bold move, a power move. And you're going to reach out to someone. You're going to add value to them. You're going to contribute to whatever it is they're doing because you know that business is built through relationships. And maybe you feel that sense of courage rising up in your body. Maybe there's a bit of excitement, a bit of fear. Just notice where that is in your body. And if there is a fear, how high is it on a scale of 0 to 10? And when you're ready, let's dive in, tapping on the side of the hand. And say, even though I might feel a bit nervous about making this bold move or taking this inspired action, I love and accept myself anyway. Especially because business is built through relationships. And I want people to know my name and know my work. I give myself permission to take action today and to reach out to someone I'd love to be connected with. And even though I have a little fear that they might reject me, fear that I might seem awkward, I love and accept myself anyway. And I give myself permission to make some moves now. Let's go to the top of the head and say, whatever has been standing in my way. Eyebrow point, from reaching out and building relationships. Side of the eye, from taking inspired action. Underneath the eye, from connecting with people. Underneath the nose, fears that I'm not fill in the blank enough, successful enough, organized enough, whatever it is. Underneath the mouth, I'm ready to let them go. Collarbone point, I'm going to keep it simple. Underneath the arms, who would I love to be connected with? Underneath the chest, who would I love to know my name and know my work? Wrist point, I'm going to take action today. Top of the head, I'm going to make some power moves. Eyebrow point, this fear that I feel. Side of the eye, this fear in my body. Underneath the eye, these stories that I'm not enough. Underneath the nose, I give myself permission to let them go. Underneath the mouth, I give myself permission to release them. Collarbone point, I could be one inspired action. Underneath the arms, one inspired action away from completely skyrocketing my business. Underneath the chest, I choose to make a power move now. All right, good job. So you can stop tapping, take a deep breath. And I want you to think about, if you were to make a power move today, if you were to take a big, bold, inspired action and reach out to somebody that you would love to be connected to, who would that be? What would that look like for you? And you could write some names down. You could also just have fun on Instagram. Like what I did is I was on Instagram and I'm like, whose content do I love to consume? I just went to their pages and I messaged them and I said, thank you. Thank you for your content. I loved this about your recent reel. I loved this about what you posted last week. I love your take on this. Would you be interested in coming onto my podcast and sharing about it? People want to get their message out there. And if you don't have a podcast, then I honestly, creating a podcast was one of the funnest things I've done this year. And it's a great way for people to be a part of your journey, to know, like, and trust you for free. So creating a podcast can be a great way. You could also ask if you could interview them on Instagram. You could ask if they would come in and share with your coaching program. These relationships, businesses are built through relationships, are absolute game changers. So those are my tips for today. I want to thank you so much for tuning in and tapping with me. And I want to hear from you. Did you take action on this? What is your inspired action telling you to do? Maybe it's not connect with someone. Maybe your inspired action is telling you to do something else. Go ahead and share that with me. You can send me a DM on Instagram at the Jackie McDonald or over on YouTube, Tapping with Jackie. I love to hear what comes up for you from these sessions. And remember that you are one person away from completely up-leveling your life. You are one inspired action away from completely skyrocketing your business, and that it gets to be simple, easy, and fun. That is what we are all about here in the Wildly Wealthy Woman world. How much fun can building your business be? If you want to be around other women who are having fun building their businesses, who are using tapping to leverage their best skills to tap into the parts of themselves that's already wildly wealthy and successful, come join us in the mastermind. You can send me a message at support@jackiemcdonald.ca or over on Instagram at the Jackie McDonald. We would love to have you in our world. And if you love today, please share it. All right, till next time, have an awesome day. And I can't wait to see you in our next episode.